Hello, I'm Paul Garrett from Orbis Software. I'd like to show you now how you can simplify a web service using the TaskCentre Web Service connector tool. This web service I've got displayed in front of me here, as you can see, has got a set of input parameters, but they're not very easy to understand what they are. They're just numbered parameters. So I'm just going to cancel out of that web service. I don't want to save that. Just cancel out of that task. And what I'll do is go into the global configuration of this web service. So go into Execute Web Service Connector tool. And this service I'm trying to connect to here is called Winning Ticket. I'll just edit that. And if I go into the operations for this, what I'm going to create now is something called a multiple operation. So in the bottom half of the screen of the operations here, I'm going to add a new operation, and I'll call it Winning Ticket, and I'll just enlarge this screen. You can see here that this service that I'm using has got a single operation in it called Operation 1, and I'm just going to drag that in to the sequence of operations. And I want to redefine the input data that you saw on the right hand side there to not to be parameter 1, 2, 3, 4 as it was, but to have friendly names. So I'll just add a node onto there and I'll call it Winning Ticket, and I'll add an element beneath that and I'll call that the date, because it's now the date that I'm going to get my winning ticket, and I'll add another element in there called which lottery am I going to get this winning ticket for. Say OK to that. Say OK to that. Now I'm going to map by double clicking the operation here. My input parameters I've created, date, I know maps to parameter 4 in this service, and the lottery that I'm going to get this from maps into parameter 8. So I'll say OK to that. That saves that away. Now, if I look at the output data for this, I can do the same with my output data, and what I'll do here is I'll add another node, and I'll just call it Winning Ticket as before, just to, easy recognition, and add some elements to this, and I'll make this the ticket number, and where do I buy this from, the outlet that it's coming from. And to make it easy for myself, the information I put in at the beginning I'll also take as output. So I'll have the date and the lottery, because if I don't have these here I'll forget. And I'll just create my mappings for these, and I'll map date into date from my input data, lottery to lottery, so input data mapped to output data, and output 1 is the ticket number from this service, and output 2 is the outlet, and say OK to that. And now I've created a complete set of mappings. I could do exactly the same without error data, but I'll just skip over that because it's just the same. Say OK to that, say OK to that, close the global configuration, go back into a task now, and I'll just create a new task, and I'll just go into the design of that, add a web service step, execute, run web service. Which web service do I want to connect to? I want to connect to my winning ticket service. And what operation do I want to perform? I've now got two operations. I could have made operation 1 unavailable in the global config, but I'll choose the winning ticket. And you now see, I'll just enlarge that, that the winning ticket has only got two parameters, date and lottery, rather than the 10 parameters with unfriendly names. I can also choose the order that these occur in when I'm setting these up, and I can also make them mandatory or not, irrespective of what the service description says, because sometimes they're wrong. Okay. Now if I just go back to that global config a moment, back into the web service connector, back into winning ticket, you'll see there's an option here to export or import. If I were to export this service now, it will generate me a file that I can save to disk. It's an XML file, and that XML file describes the service as I've described it, so I can then import that into other TaskCentre installations and use that exact same friendly described service in many installations. Thanks very much for your time.